Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy full moon. Is it the full moon in Scorpio today? I think it is. Happy whatever the hell you're celebrating or focused on today. Hey, Demi. Here we are, day 15, 14. I think it's 15. Anyway, if we're not halfway through, we're almost halfway through. Sorry, just getting my phone plugged in so I can charge while I'm multitasking a bit while I'm chatting. 14. Okay, here we go. Day 14. 2 weeks. We're officially 2 weeks into what the WTF. Tomorrow, I guess, will be the official halfway point since I've committed to doing this for 30 days. So congratulations to us on what, I don't know, on just making it, just making it. For those of you who are new to this series, welcome. I'm happy you're here. We have a live chat going. If you would like to participate in the live chat, then all you have to do is subscribe. I have it set to subscribers only mode for live chat. Obviously, if you're watching the replay, there is no live chat, but I would still love for you to subscribe. It's interesting because I've been thinking about this whole experiment. Sorry, I'm going to close out a couple other windows so I'm not. There we go. It's a good question, Demi, because there is something that happened yesterday. It hasn't been a challenge to show up every day. No, I will say that it's actually been really, really easy for me to just show up because I'm a communicator by nature. With all of the Mercury in my chart and all of the air in my chart, I am born to communicate, right? Mercury was the messenger of the gods, Libra, and all the air sign energy is that forward thinking. Air is the element of our communication, right? It's the element of ideas. It's the element of forward thinking, high level stuff. Hey, Candace. Hey, Pixie. Hey, Sophia. Hey, Fezzy girl. So it's not been a challenge to show up. And a couple of things I want to share. The whole point of this really was inspired by, I think sort of the genesis of this was, I had mentioned recently, or I've been talking a lot about this actually, that I've been really leaning into Bashar and some like early Abraham Hicks stuff. So kind of going back to teachers and sources of content that were, ones that I paid attention to initially and then kind of moved away from, although Bashar I never really super focused on. Anyway, I digress. The point here is that, the Bashar philosophy and his approach of you just assume that everything that's happening is happening for your benefit, right? I'm paraphrasing a bit, but essentially he says, assign positive meaning to everything. Assume that no matter what, this serves you in some way, and it does. And he also talks a lot about just following your highest excitement. And I fully believe in that, right? My emotional architecture video, which I did link in yesterday's replay, if you want to watch that, or just search my channel for emotional architecture. I do believe that really the fundamental thing and the primary thing we always have access to is follow the feeling, follow the energy, follow the vibe. And so that really was the impetus for this series. It was that day 2 weeks ago when I was just having a moment of what the WTF, which by the way, nobody has still nobody has guessed what show that is from on Netflix. Anyway, it was just a moment of like, well, okay, if I believe that following my highest excitement in the vibration is really all I have to do, and if I believe that everything is happening for me, and I do, then it was just kind of a moment of me calling myself out on my own bullshit of like, okay, Amar, I understand why you are where you are, right? It's been stressful. It's been anxiety provoking. It's been a whole lot of change and not a lot of clarity. So it makes sense that you would be where you are. And what are you going to do about it? One of my favorite quotes, I believe it's Elizabeth Gilbert, Eat, Pray, Love. And she says, I've never seen anybody ever make radical change without first becoming sick of their own bullshit. That's a paraphrase. But so I was sitting there and I was just like, okay, Amar, I see where you are. It's understandable that where you are, it completely makes sense. You're totally justified. Everything is valid, blah, 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 blah. And what are you going to do about it? Do you want to just sit here for the next few days or weeks or whatever and just stew and fret and worry and wonder? Or do you want to find that center again and decide how to perceive from here? It was just a choice of, well, sure, the thing that feels the most exciting right now is hopping on YouTube and sharing with whoever wants to listen. The thing that feels the most exciting right now is giving myself the permission to just be honest and transparent and vulnerable without having to be the expert, without having to be the leader or the healer or the whatever. So that's what I did. And the choice to believe that everything has positive meaning, that everything is working for me, is serving me in some way. So it was really just making a choice. That's what it was. And I want to talk about choice because it is the choice to decide that everything is working in my favor, even if I don't understand how, even if everything around me appears to be to the contrary. I refuse to tap into why is this happening to me? Blah, 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 victimhood, blah, 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 poor me, blah, 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 pity. And trust me, I've spent a lot of time in that area. So I know how it feels to be there. I know how useless ultimately it is to be there. I know how that is just a quicksand trap of self-pity. And I know that nothing productive ultimately comes from being in that place, except for just getting sick and tired of being in that place and saying, I'm tired of this. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to reclaim my authority and I'm going to find the center and then proceed. So I did. So it's about choice. And interestingly, I opened, this book, Notes from the Higher Self, was channeled from the higher self. So it was me basically channeling my own wisdom. And I lean into this book all of the time. Believe it or not, this book is just as much an oracle and a guide for me as it is for anybody else. And Note 31, Notes from the Higher Self by me, Amar, available on Amazon. Nothing is your adversary. All of it is from you. All of it is for you. All of it is of you. It's not a block. It's a stepping stone. You are simply being called to see things from a higher perspective. You've brought yourself to a place where you feel something is standing in your way so you can transform it through your presence. The willingness to face what feels adversarial with an open and curious heart is alchemy in real time. And it's true. So yesterday, let's fast forward about 24 hours. Actually, 2 days ago, so 48 hours ago on Sunday, I've been living here with my sister and brother-in-law in rural Colorado, off and on for the past 4.5 years. I noticed my sister was in a bit of a funk. So Sunday we had a chat and, she told me they just got their new tax information for their mortgage and their property from the county or the state. I think it's the county. And their property taxes went way the fuck up. Basically, long story short, they're going to have to leave their home. They can't afford to live here anymore. They're devastated. And I can completely understand why. And I thought, okay, well, that's a little bit of a plot twist, because even though I had anticipated leaving here within the next couple of weeks or months, it's one thing to have that as an idea and a concept. It's another thing to see that becoming a reality. Oh, I'm not going to be able to stay here anymore because no one's, my family isn't going to own this home. Okay, cool. So I'm sitting with that idea on Sunday and I'm like, all right, that causes a little bit of anxiety. It's mostly just the mind trying to figure out, oh my God, what do we do with this new information? And I sit with myself and I say, well, babe, it hasn't really changed anything. You were going to leave anyway. Now you just have a little bit more information. Well, yesterday, but still it was this nebulous idea of they're going to be selling the house someday. So yesterday, yes, it is, Kenny. It's a yes and. It's like improv 101, which is kind of what life is. Life is like improv. So just say yes and. So yesterday I go out into the garage where my brother-in-law, his office, his workspace is. And he's like got a whole bunch of boxes up and he's packing things. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm packing to move. He's like, our real estate agent is coming on Friday and we're going to talk about the plan and next steps to get our house on the market. And I was like, oh. And then I kind of had a moment internally, like I was like, okay, cool. Got what I needed from the freezer, went into my bedroom and I was like, oh, so this is really happening. Like, this is not just an idea that they're going to maybe be selling their house and moving someday. And, anything can happen. It could still not happen. It's not official. Anyway, my point is, I have a choice. And yesterday I was starting to feel the anxiety build. Yesterday, I could feel and hear and observe the mind starting to ramp up to some anxiety, starting to ramp up to a feeding frenzy on some fear and panic in the unknown. And I just watched it. And I just watched it. And this morning, I just watched it. And it really wanted me. Remember how we were talking about yesterday about those friends who were like, they can't wait to tell you the bad news? Like they want to be the one that tells everyone the bad news first. I started to feel that this morning. Like that part of me, I woke up really early and I could feel this familiar sense of anxiety. I could feel the familiar sense of the mind not having quite processed this new information. The visual that I kept seeing was like a huge boulder just being thrown into a pond that just went still. And the mind again is like, oh my God, unknown. What are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And again, I'm like, babe, it's this is just information. It doesn't change anything necessarily. So it was a choice. It was the choice to, again, believe that this is happening for me, believing that this is in support of the desires and the choices I have made. I choose to allow the truth that this is a positive experience. I choose to assign positive meaning to this because the truth is, it's no more unrealistic to be optimistic and choose to assume that everything is happening for you. It is no more unrealistic to assume that than to walk through the world assuming that everything is horrible, everything's doom and gloom, and one of our favorite human myths that if something is bad, it's only going to get worse. I refuse to believe that. That's just not the glass that I'm going to drink from. There's another thing here, and I've been talking about this a bit in some of my client sessions. And the mind's inability to comprehend the absence of something. And what I mean by that is the mind is only thinking of object or subject, right? So if I say to you, don't think of an apple, what is the first thing that we're all going to do? Think about an apple. Even trying not to think about an apple is going to conjure an image of an apple. Suddenly, apple, 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 apple. That's all we can think about and talk about. So the mind you can't tell the mind don't focus on something because the very something that you're telling the mind not to focus on is where it will direct its attention. Airline pilots understand this. People who drive professionally or drive defensively understand this. Cross-country skiers who alpine ski through, forests of trees and, lots of obstacles to maneuver around, they understand this. And here's what I mean. Let's say you're driving down the street and someone says, don't hit the fence. Immediately the mind is going fence, 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 fence. And you are going to begin to move in the direction of the fence. You will, if unchecked, continue to move towards the fence because the mind is going, oh, the fence, the fence. Oh, that's over there. Oh, the fence, the fence, the fence. Don't hit the fence, the fence, the fence. It's only focused on the object or the subject. So when we say, and I'm using myself as an example, rewind to day one of what the WTF, and I was saying, I don't have any money. I don't have any clients. I don't know what to do. I'm lost. I'm stuck. So what are the subjects and the objects of those sentences? Lost, stuck, no money, no clients, lost, stuck, no money, no clients. That's the only thing that manifested from that perspective and from that focus. And one of my things that I know is, and here's another way to look at it. If you see people succeeding and you are like, oh, what the fuck? Look at them, stupid asshole. How'd you get all that money? How'd you get so successful? What you're saying to the mind and to the universe is, I hate success. I don't like success. I don't want success. Success bothers me. Success disgusts me. Success irks me, and I don't want anything to do with it. So, what you do is you focus on the path forward. And this is what skiers do. If you're skiing down the mountain and someone says, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree, bam, 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 you're going to hit every single fucking tree on the way down. But if the instruction is focus on the clear path ahead, 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 the mind will focus on the clear path ahead. The mind will find a clear path, even where at first glance it appeared that one didn't exist. Focus on the clear path ahead. Focus on the feeling. I trust my feelings. I trust myself. I trust source. I trust spirit. I trust my feelings. I trust myself. I trust source. I trust spirit. I trust my feelings. I trust myself. I trust source. I trust spirit. Bam. That's it. That is it. Acknowledge your problem and then never fucking speak of it again. Identify what it is, right? I don't have money. And then find a way to focus on the opposite of that. I am focusing on the clear path to money. I am focusing on the clear path to money. I am open and focused on the clear path to money. And then when part of you goes, no, we're not, and you feel sideways, then you tend with that part. You pull it close and say, baby, tell me why money is so scary to you. Tell me why abundance is so scary to you. Tell me why success feels so awful and makes you freaked out. You do not question the decision. You do not question the direction. You question the part of you that does not understand it. Because if you begin to second guess your own knowing, then you're back to gaslighting yourself. Then you're back to minimizing yourself. Then you're back to denying the essence of spirit itself as it moves through you. So we have to choose. We have to choose. Yeah, Bliss, and that's what it was, and that's exactly what I knew. And here's the thing. I remember at the beginning of January when, the original agreement with my sister and my brother-in-law was that I could move back. And I told them, I said, I don't have money for rent. Like, because previously I was paying them a third of the mortgage. Like, I was just basically paying a third of the expenses. Makes sense. So when I floated the idea at the end of last year of coming back, I told them, like, there is something. Well, Brian, then you have to reconcile yourself to that, because you can fight and you can resist what the soul has chosen all day long, every day, and you will successfully build a life made of resistance. But here's the thing, the soul's going to get what the soul wants, because the only reason you exist is because the soul chose you. So given now, given 10,000 years from now, doesn't matter. Eventually the soul will achieve what the soul wants to achieve. So just realizing that, okay, I can be here with an open-ended invitation. Basically, I said I can pay a third of the utilities, but I can't pay rent. My sister said that's fine. Then in January, she said, actually, we kind of rethought our agreement, and we can agree to 6 months no rent. And then beginning in May 1st, this is what your expenses will be. Basically, my third will be $1,500, give or take. So I had already decided at the beginning of the year, I was like, well, if I'm going to be paying $1,500 a month, I could live on my own somewhere. Like, I don't need to be paying that kind of money to live with other people. Like, I can find an apartment somewhere and live on my own. So I had already decided to go. I had already decided, like, okay, that's where I'm going. I'm going to leave. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know where, if, who, what, I don't know anything. But I chose to surrender. I chose to say I could continue to be freaked out and upset about this, or I could choose to believe this is happening for me in some way. There's a reason that serves me, and I don't even have to know what that reason is. And so that's what I did. So this new information is not changing what I had initially decided and chosen. It's just giving me more details. And the part of me that perhaps was a little non-committal and was still like, oh, whatever, we can always stay here. Like, it's a contingency plan, right? Like, we always have a plan B, and plan B will just be continue to spin your wheels and question everything that comes from within, and just spin your tail here, chase your tail here for another year. So the part of me that wasn't quite serious about the commitment to leave, I think that's the part of me that's feeling a little freaked out. But ultimately, I can choose. I can choose to believe that this is happening for me in some way, and I don't have to know how. I can just allow myself to be informed. I can just allow myself to be shown. I can allow the path to lead me forward. And I think, Brian, back to your thing about surrendering, and this is for anybody listening, surrender is a lifelong process. Here's the way I look at it. So if we think of source, we think of the one, and I just think of that as a big pool, right? And it's just the pool of unconditional love, and everyone's swimming in the pool, and it's just this pool of potential and possibility. And then we decide to have an experience of being a human or a rock or a bird or a Pleiadian or a Canadian or whatever. And so we differentiate ourselves, right? Spirit says, okay, I'm going to sort of peel off part of myself and I'm going to call it a bird. I'm going to call it Amar. I'm going to call it Bob. But you're still source. You're still connected to it. Just the same way that the pinky might think like, oh, look at me. I'm an individual unit of consciousness. I have my own will. Well, yeah, sort of, but not really, because you're connected to something much larger, and where it goes, so do you. Right? So this idea that we are in the source, we are in the one. And from my perspective, anything other than being in the one is a distortion of a sort. Now, distortion doesn't necessarily mean bad or good. It's not a judgment. It's just saying that when you decide to scoop yourself out of the pool and turn yourself into something that then you can watch and observe and learn through, because remember what I said a couple days ago, source can't know itself as source. It can only know itself as the aspects of source, and that's how it learns and grows. Learning about itself is through all of our experiences. So anything outside of the one is a distortion. It has to be. Spirit has to distort its energy from the full potential of all things to a human body, right? So when I talk about surrender, and if you're still listening, Brian, I appreciate it, because sometimes I take a circuitous path to get to the point, but there is one. Surrender to the fact that surrender is forever. As long as you woke up in a body, as long as you woke up as an individuated aspect, you're in distortion. Distortion doesn't have to be a bad thing. That's how we're learning. I am learning what it is to be Amar through to the distortion of allowing myself to come into a human form. Are you all following me here? So until you're back in the pool, you're on your way back to the pool. And until you're back in the pool, you're still on your way back to the pool. And the fact that you're on your way back to the pool explicitly defines the fact that you are out of source, right? You are in a bit of distortion, which is not a bad thing, reminding you of that. And until you come back to the one, it is always going to be a surrender of some sort. So get comfortable with surrender. Make friends with surrender, and begin to see how it is a superpower, because the only time we are ever asked to surrender is when we are in a state that no longer is in alignment. If things, yeah, Sophia, distortion makes music, right? It gives it depth, it gives it interest, it gives it something that you wouldn't otherwise hear or experience. So, surrender to surrender and make friends with surrender. Surrender is a superpower, because when you're being called to surrender, that's essentially spirit giving you an engraved invitation to say, time to move on. Time to move on. Here's your invitation. Here is the notice. Time to move on. And we sit around and we go, I don't know what I'm doing, spirit. Things are so hard. And she's saying, baby, if you would just surrender, you'd see. Oh, right, surrender. The thing that I have said more than any other phrase in my spiritual journey over the past 12 years, I thought I knew what surrender was. Man, take it from someone who has been there or not. You can be like me and you can go, oh, that's nice, I'm going to figure it out myself, right? I'm the person who, no matter how many times you told me not to put my hand on the hot burner, I'm going to do it anyway because I have to experience it for myself. And I go, oh yeah, right, you're right, it does burn. Surrender to surrender. It's your best friend. It's your greatest ally. And it is the sign you're looking for. I don't have a sign. Where's my sign? Where's my sign? Yeah, you have a sign. I have never met anybody who says, I don't have a sign, who wasn't just either ignoring a sign that they didn't want to acknowledge, or they just hadn't quite figured it out yet. But you always have a sign. Always. And surrender is a sign that you're being invited to move on. Yeah. We see this all the time. It's a platitude, it's corny, it's fucking pumpkin spice latte season, it's basic bitch central, but that saying of like, the beauty of fall is the trees low show us the power of letting go when they drop their leaves. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's a corny fucking saying, and it should be right next to my live, love, laugh sign on my wall that I got at TJ Maxx, but it's true. It's true. Nature shows us all of the time. Nature shows us all of the time. Every single answer we're looking for can be found somewhere in nature. And surrender is one of them. The life and the reality on earth is cyclical. Nothing sustains forever. Nothing sustains forever. The only thing that sustains forever is forever. That's it. Eternity is the only thing that's eternal. Everything else is a dance. It's an expression. It's a temporary construct so that spirit can know itself. So choice is yours. And even when we find ourselves in circumstances that we have a hard time understanding where the choice was, it was still a choice on some level. And even if you don't understand the choice, it still feels like you are being chosen for, or someone or something chose for you. You still have a choice as to how you respond to your current circumstances. Oh, Kenny, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's never easy. That's never easy. I'm sending so much love to you and your family. So choose how you're going to respond. Choose what you're going to do from this point forward. Choose whether or not you're going to continue to reopen, reanimate, resuscitate, resurrect, and regurgitate the same old limiting stories, or if you're going to give yourself the gift of freedom and say, well, that's how I used to do it. So now I want all of the other ways. And you can say, Spirit, I'm done learning through the downward spiral of conflict and frustration and agony and suffering. I'm ready to learn through the upward spiral of creativity, of fulfillment, of joy, of expression, of community, whatever the upward spiral feels like to you. But that is where your choice lies. And that is where your ultimate authority is to choose. And you also get to choose what you believe. Yeah, beliefs are disposable. Beliefs, if you don't believe me that beliefs are disposable, rewind to when you were a kid and you believed in Santa Claus. There was a time for most people when they believed that these mythological characters, and some of them actually are real, right? But we believe that, oh my God, there's really the man in the red suit that slides down the chimney every Christmas Eve. And you believe that, and it's real. And every question, well, how can he fit down the chimney? He's magic. How can he fly around the world all in one night? He's magic. How can he carry all of the presents in his sleigh? He's magic. You believe in it 100% as a kid. And then you realize that it's not true, at least not in the way you were told. And so you drop that belief. Beliefs are disposable. If you do not like the quality of your experience, maybe it's simply time to redefine your beliefs. Maybe it's time to redefine the definitions of your beliefs. You get to decide what abundance is, what joy is, what freedom is, what creativity looks like, what community looks like. Here's what I know. One person's paradise is another person's nightmare. I have friends who are sun worshipers and they love to travel to hot, sunny climates. I am basically clear. That is how much pigment I have in my skin. And to me, more than 10, 15 minutes in direct sun is misery. I hate it. I don't want to be there. That's the last place I want to be. And we used to always love to take vacations together, and they always wanted to go to like the south of Spain in the middle of the hot season. That's their paradise. That is my fucking nightmare. So you get to choose. And surrender isn't necessarily giving up. Surrender is giving in. Surrender says, well, I tried my way. What about the other way? Surrender says, you're not being punished. You're not being tested. You're being given an opportunity to move beyond. You're being given an opportunity to liberate yourself. The whole point of you learning and coming to your full remembrance of yourself while in your body and going through it in your own way and your own time and coming to your own realization is the whole point, because then spirit gets to see how you do it. If you're just doing it the way I tell you to, or someone else tells you to, or you're expecting them to do it for you, then you're not doing it your way. And spirit's saying, well, I already know how Amar does it because I have Amar. So I want to know how you do it. I don't want to know how you do it with someone else's tools. I don't want to know how you do it with someone else's agenda or someone else's set of keys. I want to know how you open it with your wisdom, your truth, your knowledge, your medicine, your understanding, your remembrance, and your beliefs. Veronique, maybe just surrender to your circumstances. Is it easier to leave or is it easier to stay? Is it more work to stay and fight, or is it just easier to go, okay, I'll leave? It's up to you. It's up to you. You get to decide. You get to decide. People ask me all the time, Amar, what's my purpose? I don't know. Beyond, be the fullest expression, be the fully expressed version of you as you can, be the most full wingspan all of the time version of yourself that you can be. Other than that, I can't tell you, because it's not my purpose, it's yours. Now, I can help you find it. I can give you ways to tune into it. I can give you mechanisms and methods to uncover it and reconnect with it, but I can't tell you what it is. Same thing. What's my guide's name? Ask your guide. Or make it up. Your guide doesn't care. You could call him Bob the Butthole. He doesn't care. Your guides don't care. They just want you to listen. They just want you to pay attention and realize and acknowledge the support that they are offering. And your guides aren't going to do it for you because they know they are guides. Just like someone who's guiding you up the mountain can't climb the mountain for you. They can walk with you and go, okay, here, this way, breathe harder, use your stick, take a break, but they can't know. But it's the same thing. A spirit guide can't come and live your human life for you. That's not the point. Yes. I think that's all I have today. It's all about choice. It's all about choice. So, so everyone now, from now on, your spirit guides' names are officially Bob the Butthole. And if they all start waking me up at 3 a.m. with complaints and laughing at how now all of you are calling your guides Bob the Butthole, that's fine. I'm willing to accept that. That's a price I'll pay. But really, they don't care. In the beginning, when I was still going by Andrew, I just called him Big Andrew. I just lumped all of my guides into a singular consciousness and I called them Big Andrew. And I told them, y'all are going to have to sort out who speaks for what, because I only want to hear one voice at a time. So you can tell them, hey, I need less of this or more of this, or make it louder or make it quieter, right? You have authority. You have authority. Well, Pixie, start with Bob the Butthole. All right, I am fucking delirious officially. So we'll end that here. I love you all so much. This really has become such a bright spot for me, and I'm so happy to see you show up and to share and connect. As always, all the information is in the description below. Stripe links, PayPal links are there if you want to make a donation. That is always greatly appreciated, since I'm going to be moving much sooner than anticipated. And I think I might need a car. I don't know. I can't afford one right now. So I guess if I'm going to get a car, Spirit will open that up to me too. But whatever you do, however you do it, I'm just happy you're here. So thanks for showing up. Thanks for hanging out. Like, share, and subscribe. Share, talk about it, spread the news, make shorts, repost with my blessing. See you tomorrow, 10 a.m.